Have the distinct privilege and pleasure tonight of offering you something a little different and that I'm confident will communicate to you in a different way. I think some of you are getting it. This is a comedic sketch that I wrote, which was commissioned by Pastor Jeremy, and it is called This Is the Meeting, and it's performed by Robert Holdamph and performed by Bria Hobgood.
Hey, thank you for meeting me here today.
Hey, thank you for inviting me out today for the final interview, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Miss Hobgood.
You can call me Bria.
You can call me Mr. Holdamph.
Robert, you're so funny.
No, it's Mr. Holdamph.
Okay, Mr. Holdamph. Oh, I'm sorry.
You should be. I just told you my name is Mr. Holdamph.
My mistake.
Just messing with you, Bria.
Robert, Mr. Holdamph, you really had me fooled. I gotta give you that. You had me fooled.
So, did you have any questions for me today?
Well, if our conversation has taught me anything, your creative ability to communicate is your greatest strength.
What? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I must say, your creative ability to communicate is your greatest strength.
Well, I would have to agree with that.
I wonder if you could pick up the pace a little.
Oh, I would have to agree with that.
Now, I understand that you have a significant number of years experience in the field.
Mm-hmm. Many years of experience, actually.
And do you think that tone is a critical part of communicating effectively?
Bria, that is a great question, and it's actually the question any effective communicator should ask. Because if you don't believe what you're saying, how's anybody else going to believe what you're saying? The tone sets that.
Robert, I couldn't agree with you more.
Ms. Hobgood, it's been a pleasure.
Mr. Holt, Robert, the pleasure's mine. So how did I do?
Take this down. You have a notepad?
All right.
Bria is a great communicator. Now read that back to me.
Quote, Bria is a great communicator, close quote.
And I want you to remember that for the rest of your life, because that's how God sees you.
Yes, Mr. Holdamph.
You can call me Robert.
Yes, Robert.
And I would now like to say, congratulations, you are the new director of communications for my company.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Bria.
All right, and end of scene.
Thank you, Pastor Jeremy.
All right, y'all give it up one more time for Bria and Robert. So when Tara, my wife, and I were in Kids Life, we worked in Kids Life the first 2 years we were here from 2012 to 2014, and we got to work with all of this team in Kids Life, and they did the skits and a lot of our drama every single week that we had in the curriculum for children. So a lot of live action every week, memorizing scripts and stuff like that. So we're going to talk about communication a little bit tonight. We're going to continue in our second week. So thank you to you for putting that together and talking about what it takes to have a little bit of energy, communication, how facial expressions, how we communicate with one another. We want to welcome all of you that are online tonight as well. We had a little bit of weather here in Houston, and so we hope everybody made it safely here. A storm arose just before class, but for all of you watching from around the world, listen, you can, if you have the opportunity, go on to Planning Center, and you can get on the Resources tab on Planning Center Online, and you can get last week's recording we have on there. And also, if you need a book, we are in the book by John Maxwell, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. We are in this book this week and then the next 2 weeks after this. So tonight we're going to be in chapters 3 and 4 of this book, and we would encourage you, if you haven't had a chance to get the book, you can go on there. We put a link in there for you that you can go on and actually order the book from wherever you live. And so also, tomorrow night, we want to encourage any men that are out here. We have men's night tomorrow night. Be here, 7:30, right here, June 9th. It's going to be so much fun. I get the opportunity to be part of the pre-show, all the games we're going to play, and have a little bit of fun in the auditorium. And then after that, we're going to have great practical guy talk. And then afterwards, we're going to have all kinds of food trucks and barbecue and games and connection. So if you're a man in the Houston area or outside of that, we have people traveling from all over the world. If you want to come hang out with us tomorrow night, June 9th, 7:30, right here at Lakewood Church, we'd love to have you. All right, we're going to get started. And I just want to say thank you. We went a few minutes before we started. We went a few minutes past 7 o'clock to start. Just wanted to make sure everybody got here. But tonight, we've got a lot to get to, so we're going to move very quickly. What we're talking about tonight is powerful because the principles that we're going to learn and talk about from this book and some other things that we're going to add into it can be good communication for anybody who's communicating one-on-one, anybody who's communicating in a small group, or for anybody who's communicating in a large audience. So tonight, we're going to focus a little bit more this week on a large audience, but all of these principles can apply to us as human beings regardless of if it's one-on-one communication, whether it's a group, or whether it's a large audience. Say you've been tasked to speak to a group of people at your work, or at school, or at church, or a family gathering, reunion, or whatever it may be, and a wedding or something. You've been tasked to speak. We're going to talk about how do we connect, not only communicate, but how do we connect? And so I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks from our own Pastor Joel Osteen too. Some things that he employs and uses when he speaks. And we're going to talk about that tonight. So one-on-one, small group, or large audience. And so I hope you have your notes out tonight. I want to talk about two things. Number one, we're going to talk about vocal image and visual image. Everybody say vocal image and visual image. So every one of us has a vocal image and a visual image. Our vocal image is the words that we use, the tone in which we say it, the pace at which we say it, the pitch at which we say it. We'll talk about all of these tonight. So you have a vocal image, but you also have a visual image. And your visual image is just as important as your vocal image. Sometimes in communication we think that the words are the most important thing, but they're not. The words are actually the least important thing in communication. So if I came out tonight and I did this, if I walked up and I said, "I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here." What would you think? He looks angry. This is what I call the pointer. You got to be careful. This is a dangerous one, all right? You point. You know what I'm saying? People go. So that's the pointer. You have to be careful with that. That has a lot of power, right? When you talk to people, if you point in somebody's face, if you're having one-on-one, if you're having coffee or dinner with somebody and you point in their face, they're going to go, "Why are you pointing in my face?" It's dangerous, right? But if I came out and did this, "Good evening. How are you this evening? Are you good? In good health? How was your week? Good work week? Good. Good to see you." If you knew nothing about me, what would you assume? Other than weird. You don't know anything about me, but my visual presentation tells you that I would probably be somebody who's accessible and nice, friendly, right? But you don't know anything about me. But the key is to use your vocal image and your visual image in everyday life and communicating with human beings that is inviting, all right? We're going to talk about a couple of things tonight. Number one, facial expression. Facial expression. In your visual image, you have body language and facial expression. Your body language tells people how you intend to communicate with them. Your body language and your facial expressions are powerful. So if I come out like this, and I say, good evening to everybody watching on Zoom, thank you for being here, they would feel more welcome. But if I came out like this and was like, thanks for watching. This in taking pictures, anybody ever taking professional headshots? This is what we call the real estate pose. Y'all ever seen it? The real estate pose? I love that pose. But the reason that your body is so important is because you not only give the verbal cues, but you give visual cues as you communicate as a human being. So for one, let's be funny for a second. So if I came out and did this is what we call the 3 layers of visual communication. Okay, these are the 3 layers. The middle layer is from my eyes to my waist. From my eyes, this is what we call the power zone, okay? From my eyes to my waist. So if I came out and started communicating and I went like this, hey, good evening, everybody. How are you doing? You good? Everybody good? Good, yeah. So tonight we're going to be talking about, so if I held my hands over my head, you would go, what's wrong with him? Is he okay? Everybody all right? So if I held my hands up here, this seems awkward if I talk to you like this. But if I came too low, if I came out and did a visual presentation as we're communicating in class, and I said, thank you for being here. I'm so glad that you're here. All of you over there as well. This is great. I love seeing your smiling face. You over there, great, yeah. This is what we call insecurity. So the first layer down here is where people are really nervous. The middle layer right here, from the eyes to the waist, is what we call the power zone. This is why having communication when you're talking to somebody, whether one-on-one in a group or to an audience, the power zone is where you want to stay. It's not awkward, but it's not insecure. This is timidity. This communicates that I'm kind of nervous. I used to do this when I first started in high school. I would speak. I would grip my pants like this. People go, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, great. Fabulous. Thanks for asking. So I think there's a very important part of using our visual image to communicate. Our physical body and our facial expressions communicate 93% of all communication. 93%. Question, very quickly, yes. Yes, I do that. So it depends on if it's one-on-one, if it's a person who puts their hands in their pockets in one-on-one conversation or group conversation, or even with an audience. I like to do it, and I'll be honest with you, I like to do it because it sometimes conveys comfortability. So if I walk up and I start talking to all of you on a Thursday night, I'm just like, hey, how we doing? We good tonight? All right, cool. Thank you so much for being here. This, to me, is I'm comfortable. This, to some people, can communicate discomfort. It can communicate that they're not comfortable. So this can sometimes be closed off, just depending on the personality. But that's a great question. Thank you for asking. And I think one of the most important things that we can do is, because sometimes you don't know what to do. Let's be honest. If you're in public having a discussion with somebody, sometimes you don't know what to do with your hands. Okay, you're like, how we doing? Everybody good? So this casual like this, this to me, the communication is, I feel comfortable. But it depends on a little bit on the person, so I want to be careful to say these big sweeping generalizations that if you communicate like this or it looks like this, then that's healthy communication, because everybody's a little bit different. But I will say generally, if you're going to talk to somebody, if you're sitting dinner with somebody and you've got your hands over your head and you're communicating like this, it's going to be awkward. So everybody say the power zone. Right here, the power zone. Eyes to waist, power zone. All right? That's the power zone. This is your visual image. So body language and facial expression. 7% of what we say is, 7% is what we say. 38% is how we say it, our tone and our attitude. 55% is what others see. 55% of communication is what others see. If I'm sitting at dinner with my wife and I'm doing this, what am I communicating to her? I should be off my phone. Thank you. That I'm on my phone and I should be off my phone. Shout out to my wife. Tonight is our anniversary of our first date, June 8th. So, if I'm on a date celebrating the anniversary of our first date and I'm doing that, I'm communicating to her. I'm not saying anything. I was talking with Abel earlier. Did you know that you and I have a nonverbal communication? The whole time that I'm up here. And I'm watching, just throwing that out there. When you spend a lot of time communicating with groups of people, you start watching people's facial expressions. You start watching people's posture in the chair. You start watching people's writing. You start watching people's eyes. You start watching people's nonverbal communications. So the entire time I'm up here, I'm having a nonverbal communication with you. And there have been times over the last few months that we've done different classes where we've not had something on the schedule, and I look out and I see multiple people kind of like eyes glazed over, and I go, we got to do something to get everybody moving and engaged. There have been times where we've made last-second decisions in the middle of class because we want everybody to be engaged. So I'm watching you watching me, and we're having a nonverbal because 55% of communication is nonverbal. So I'm watching more than half of your communication is what you're doing for me right now. So I like to watch, Dr. Dokes and I have had many discussions. We like to watch an audience, a group of people to see, are they engaged? Are they engaged? Because we want to make sure that it's something that's valuable. And so if somebody's disengaged, they're telling us that this moment may not be valuable for them, and we want to make it as valuable as we can. So that's part of it. Facial expressions. Everybody say facial expressions. So facial expressions are fun. So here's what we're going to do tonight. Our first activity, and we got to get right to it. Our first activity tonight is we are going to work on some facial expressions. So everybody in the room is going to have a partner, and Tara is going to be online with everybody on Zoom. You're going to get one partner, teams of two, and you're going to work on facial expressions, okay? And here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to do. I want one person out of the two to start naming in just a moment. Don't put it up just yet, Manny. There's a list of 16 facial expressions on the next slide. Don't show it yet. There's a list of 16 facial expressions. Okay, there's actually 20 total by the American Psychological Association, 20 different facial expressions for different moods or attitudes. So what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to have you together as a team. You're going to call out the mood or the attitude, the facial expression, and the other person is going to demonstrate the facial expression. Are you ready? And then I want you to switch. Okay? So let's put 90 seconds on the clock. And we're going to go groups of two very quickly. When the slide comes up, the first person call out the words, and the person that you're teamed up with will give you the facial expression according to that mood or attitude. All right? Here we go. On your mark, get set, go.
I'd love to have 3 volunteers that can come up on stage. I already have one chosen. I know this person's always in the background. Manny, he is always the one that's... Come on, Manny, come on up. He's always doing pro presenter and everything like that. He's always smiling, so I definitely want to see his facial expressions. I also met somebody today. Well, we've met each other a couple of times, but I actually finally knew his name. So Terry, if you could please come with me, please. Terry, come on, Terry. Give it up for Terry. All right, one woman that's be volunteer. Yes, let's go right up over here. Okay, another woman that would love to. Right here. Oh, you're recommending her? Oh, that means you did a great job. Come on, give it up for her. Come on up. You're gonna stand right here in the middle. All right. Welcome. There she is. All right. So I know we have it all up on the screens. So, at a count of 3, I want you to show everybody the sad face. Ready? Everybody, look at it. 1, 2, 3, sad. Oh, that's pretty good, right? All right. Now we're going count of 3. Angry. 1, 2, 3, angry. That's pretty good. Hey, if you can't be smiling, you're angry. Remember, you're angry. You're angry. All right. Disgusted. Go. Disgusted. All right. I'm gonna change it up a little. Disgusted because you're about to eat something very disgusting and is disgusted. Well, how's that face go? Come on, Terry, you can do better than that. You're gonna smile? Okay. Next one is angrily disgusted. Angrily disgusted. Okay. Sadly disgusted. Sadly disgusted. Huh? Okay. All right. Now happy. Okay. All right. That was pretty. Now happily surprised. Go. All right. Okay. Now just surprised. You're surprised. It's very important what we're learning today. You know, facial expressions. All right, ready? Now, sadly surprised. It's awesome that we're doing facial expressions. We didn't say sound effects. And they love to show us sound effects as well. Fearful. Fearful. How does that go? Fearful. Okay. Yeah, don't look scared of me. Fearful. Angry. Fearfully angry. There we go. I'm loving these sound effects. All right, one more. Let's go with hatred. Man. Hatred, come on, at least one of you. Huh? No, it's okay. Give it up for them. They did an amazing job. I know it's not easy to be up here. Thank you so much. Back to Pastor Jeremy.
All right, thank you, Pastor Abner. We're gonna do some more here in just a minute. But how many of you have never played that game before? How many of you have never done that before? Okay, it's hard, isn't it? You start mixing words and you go, sadly surprised? What does sadly surprised mean? But what's interesting is human beings have this depth of expression that we don't realize. And when we communicate with other people, when we're listening, many times we, that face makes people that are talking to us go, what did I say? Because you're communicating. You're communicating all these different things. That's part of communication. 55% of communication is the visual. 55. Now, that's our visual image. There's a lot more that we could get into that, and we may get into that in the next few weeks. But that's your visual image, how we present ourselves, how we present our posture, how we present the way we listen, how we present the way that we use our facial expressions when we're communicating to other human beings, whether on stage or off stage or anything like that. That is our visual image. And so just remember, as a leader, you have a visual image. And this is something that we talk to leaders about at Lakewood. And this is something I think that Pastor Joel, and I'll be honest, just personally, I think he does this really well. He never panics. Does he? He does not panic. And I think in leadership, now all of us are human and we all have our moments. But one of the things that we can really, it's a skill to be learned in pressure situations. What is our visual image? Because we talk about two things in leadership at Lakewood with a lot of our staff and our ministries, is we say leadership is visual and it's vocal. It's visual and it's vocal. It's what people hear and what they see. And so in a moment of pressure or stress or something like that, what image are we giving off? What are we communicating to other people? What are we communicating to our family? What are we communicating to our friends, our colleagues? What are we communicating to our church family? What are we communicating to other human beings? And I think that's very important. So the second one tonight that we're going to talk about is our vocal image. Our vocal image. And in our vocal image is volume, pace, our pitch, and our tone. Volume, of course, is how loud we get. Now, all of these equal energy. Energy. The word that I like to use for it is energy in our leadership. Energy does not have to be a high volume. Energy does not have to be a specific tone, pitch, or pace. It just depends on the moment. So we have this rule that we kind of use in teaching people how to communicate, especially to a mid-sized group or a large audience, is be as big as the room. Be as big as the room. I'm going to communicate like this. Well, I'll be honest, I communicate like this at home too, but I'm a bad example, okay? I get intense. You can ask Tara. I get intense. I'm like, guys, to my children, what are we doing at 5 in the morning? But we always say, be as big as the room. If you're having coffee with a friend, you don't have to be an 8 out of 10 volume. In fact, I assume the people in the coffee shop would appreciate it if you weren't an 8 out of 10 volume. But if you're communicating, say in the main auditorium here at Lakewood, if you're communicating to thousands of people, your expressions and your body, your footprint, what we call a body footprint, has got to be much bigger. Because you're in an arena. So be as small or as big as the room needs in leadership. Understand that energy coming from you does not mean a volume. Energy really means an authority. What do you believe about what you're communicating? Now, we'll talk about conviction in week 4, communicating from conviction. But this is important. Okay, so number 1 is volume. So if I came out like this in class, hey, everybody, we're glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here and part of what's going on at Liquid Leadership. You would go, I'm sorry, what did he say? I can't hear a thing you're saying. Or if I came out like this. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for being here. It's been a great Thursday. Hope you've had a great week this week, and I really appreciate it. You would go, whoa, is he going to do this for the next hour? I'm out. So what we say is a 5 is your normal. 10 is high, 1 is low. We have a scale. 5 is normal. 5 is your normal conversation. Sometimes you need to bring it up depending on what kind of point you're trying to make. That's your volume. Your pace, when you're talking, if I'm talking about something that I get really excited about. So I'm a musician. I love music. I played drums since I was 4 years old, played and traveled before I was in full-time ministry, played for a recording artist. I love the drums. So I can talk about drums all day. Was an athlete growing up, can talk about sports. A lot of different things. But there's certain things that I get excited about, right? And when I go to make a point, if I'm talking to all of you, like say on Thursday night like tonight, and I'm trying to make a point, and I get there and I go, listen, there's really important key things about your communication. Number 1, pitch. Number 2, your tone. You see how my pace changed? So when your pace changes, it's usually because you're making a very important point. And you, listening, notice it when I slow my pace or quicken my pace. The more important the point I'm making, I tend to slow my pace down. So that's pace. Your pitch. Your pitch is basically how high you're talking or how low you're talking. Your pitch is up here or your pitch is down here. Okay? So one of the things that I recommend is getting a book. We're going to practice this in a second. Pastor Abner, go ahead and come on up. We're going to practice this. One of the things that I love to do is take a book, take any book, pick a paragraph, go through the book, read a paragraph, and the entire time you're reading from line to line, go up in the pitch real high and then down low, and then back up and down low and back up, and train your voice. Your voice is an instrument. So we talk about in communication, this piano right over here has it doesn't have 88 keys. Grand pianos have 88 keys. This one's a smaller keyboard. This one has 64. But if you have 88 keys, Listening to somebody talk is like hearing a piece of music. If I talk like this the entire time, it would just be one note, middle C the entire time, and you would go, oh, I don't want to sit here and listen to him for an hour talking monotone. So your voice is an instrument. So when you're talking to people, you can use different pitch. You can go low. You can go high as you're making different points. We're going to practice right now with Pastor Abner.
All right. Can I get one volunteer? One volunteer that could come up on stage. You're just going to read, okay? You're just going to read. I'm not going to make you do facial expressions. I think that you guys want him to go up? Yes, you guys are. Come on. Come on. Give it up for him. Thank you so much. Come on up. What's your name? Wyman. All right, Wyman, come here. Right here on center stage. You're gonna grab that. This is Psalms 23, the famous Bible verse, right? The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need, okay? But here's what we're going to do, okay? You're first going to read it happy. You're happy to read it. And however tone and however you would like to say it.
The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need. He lets me rest in green pastures. He leads me to calm water. He gives me new strength. He leads me on paths that are right for the good of his name.
Okay. Now read it like you're angry. I don't want to read it. I didn't even want to be up here. They made me come up.
The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need. He lets me rest in green pastures. He leads me to calm water. He gives me new strength. He leads me on paths that are right.
All right. Now read it with conviction that you know that it is right what you're reading, and it's like the Holy Spirit is in you and you want to preach it.
The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need. He leads me in green pastures. He leads me to calm water. He gives me new strength. He leads me on paths that are right for the good of his name.
Amen. Thank you so much. Give it up for him one more time. That was so good. All right. Anybody else? One more person. Come on. Now somebody on this side. Right, come on up. All right, come on up. Come on, give it to her one more time. Come on, thank you so much. All right. All right. Your name? Camille. Okay, right, come on. Right here to the front. All right. No pressure with hundreds of people watching online. I'm kidding. All right, let's start with you're happy to read it. You know, I accepted it. Nobody forced me to come, so.
The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need. He lets me rest in green pastures. He leads me to calm water. He gives me new strength. He leads me on paths that are right for the good of his name.
Okay. Now, angry. I know that he didn't want to come up, but as a good sport, he came up. I know you wanted to come up, but just pretend that you're like, it's too late. I want to go home. I'm hungry. I got to go back to the family. I'm not trying to read it. Let's go to that tone.
The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need. He lets me rest in green pastures. He leads me to calm water. He gives me new strength. He leads me on paths that are right for the good of his name.
So how would you feel if you're at a church and your pastor just starts reading it like that? You know how different it is, that the tone it is like, oh, what's wrong with him or her? You know, so now let's read this part, but with conviction, like you're preaching it to us that you believe it with all your heart.
Even if I walk through a dark valley, I will not be afraid because you are with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me. You prepare a meal for me in front of my enemies. You pour oil of blessing on my head. You fill my cup to overflowing. Surely your goodness and love will be with me all of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Amen. Thank you so much. Come on, give it to both of them. Thank you so much as we go back to Pastor Jeremy.
All right. So, you can actually practice. Your voice is an instrument. Not just public speaking, but every day talking to other humans. Your voice conveys interest. Your voice and tone, they convey conviction. They convey indifference, or they convey authority. And when you speak, all of these things can be trained and skilled. So some people go, oh, that person's just born with ability. There are some people who are born with a natural ability to feel comfortable in front of other people. But the vast majority, 99% of people that I've ever seen that are great public speakers, were generally shy before they got on stage. Or people that are good leaders in a room around a table with people, they were very shy. They had to grow in their skill. And so I would just encourage you, much like a piano or another instrument, there are many notes to it. And the more that we can practice that, the more we convey interest to other people. When my girls come up to me at the house, and the other day they made me something, a meal, and I was very overjoyed that my girls, 9 and 7 years old, would make me a meal. I said, Daddy, we made you a snack and a meal. I didn't realize that they had switched out the middle of the Oreo for toothpaste. Part of it was funny, part of it was real. So I ate the other real parts, and the moment I saw it, I was like, this is a got you moment right here, my girls. That's on me. I've taught them to prank people. It's on me, totally on me. But the joy I felt was my 9 and 7-year-old, I don't go up and go, hey, appreciate you, thank you. Because that can be very overwhelming, especially at my size. People can be overwhelmed by a big presence. And so I got down on my knee and I looked at my 7-year-old Foster and I said, thank you, baby. I really appreciate that. The tone is everything, right? So change the pitch, change the tone, change the cadence of your speaking as you communicate to people. And it's an instrument that can be practiced. It's an instrument that can be practiced. And so this is part of your, what we call the vocal image or your vocal imprint on somebody's life. Your vocal imprint on somebody's life. One of the great ways to learn to communicate with your vocal image is to talk to people on the phone with good tone. I've heard, how many of you have ever gotten a phone call where you've answered the phone and or you call them and they go, hello? You're like, oh, saw my caller ID, did you? Because you expect to have somebody on the other line go, hey, how you doing? So it conveys those, all right? These all equal to energy. Energy is key when you communicate. And when I mean energy, I don't mean a loud energy. I don't mean a fast-paced energy. I mean an open energy with the human being, whether it's one-on-one or in a large group. Openness, accessibility, these are ways that we can communicate with other people. So whether it's our visual image or our vocal image, we can convey lots of different emotions. We can convey lots of different moods, our facial expressions, whatever it may be. Because people feel more connected to you when you use a range, much like a piece of music. Have you ever heard think of your favorite piece of music. Why is it your favorite? It's soothing. But it doesn't have just one note, does it? It doesn't have generally just one movement. You have verses, you have chorus, you have bridge, you have pre-chorus, you have all of these different types of movements in songs. Why? For that reason. Because it moves you. And we as human beings experience that. All right. That's our vocal image. Now, how do we prepare? How do we prepare to communicate with other human beings? How to prepare content for an audience. Now, some of this at the end is going to be for communication leadership, maybe public speaking, maybe to a small group. Regardless of what the context is, it's very important that we understand how and what we want to say. So number one, know your audience. Number one, know your audience. If you're communicating to a group of people or even to one person, who are you communicating to? Who am I having conversation with? If I want to use a story, so I do this a lot when we speak to children. You know, if I go into a room full of 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds, I'm not going to talk about marriage. I'm probably not going to use a story from my marriage because they're going to go, what's marriage? They don't know what it's like to be married. And when I talk to junior high or high school students, I use stories not from being 41, but I use stories from when I was 15 because that relates to them. So know your audience, number one. Number two, know your stuff. Know your stuff. Know what you want to say. Know what you want to say. Know your audience, know your stuff. Patience and clarity. Patience and clarity. When you communicate to another human being, patience and clarity. It's not about what you know, it's about how much you care. People, I remember Jack Graham, the famous pastor of Prestonwood Baptist Church in Dallas. He said this years and years ago. He first started preaching. And he would say, you know, when I first started preaching in my mid-late 20s, I used to preach to impress people. And God convicted me one day, and he said, I want you to preach to help people, not to impress them. So he said, I would get up there, and I would get my message together, and I'd have all the Greek and the Hebrew and the Aramaic that Jesus spoke, and which is an offshoot of Hebrew, ancient Paleo-Hebrew. So he had all this stuff down, and I'm going to teach all the science of the Bible, and people would walk away and go, I have no idea what he said. And he said, I realized it was more about helping the human, helping somebody, loving them, giving them clarity, than it was about me impressing them. So anytime we prepare something where we're going to share with somebody, we're going to do any leadership, we're going to have a room full of people, we're going to have a one-on-one, know your stuff, know your audience, and then patience and clarity. Patience and clarity. Know what you want to say. And then number 4, give or serve. Give or serve. Here's the thing. Here's the key. This is vital for communicating. It's not about what I want to say. It's about what they need to hear. It's not about necessarily what I want to say. It's about what you need to hear. Because I could get up and just spout off information, but that may not be what you need. And my job is to pray and ask God, if I'm preaching, pray and ask God, what do you want to say? If I'm giving a leadership talk, it's about what are the vital things that they need. I'm not going to quote a bunch of passages from a bunch of different books. I may quote authors and things like that. But it's like, let's talk about clarity and simplicity. Can I take a big idea and make it simple and clear to where people can grab hold of it? Because they may not, let's be honest, you may not have all the context of what I'm thinking about up here. So simple and clear. And then give and serve. Your communication should serve other people. And this is one of the things that is very challenging for us as humans to make sure that we do, is put ourselves in the shoes of the person listening and say, what are they hearing when I'm speaking? What are they hearing when I'm speaking? And so one of the things that we can do, what we talked about last week, is, you know, hey, as you were talking, you said this. If I'm hearing you right, you said fill in the blank. Yes, that's exactly what I meant. Okay, great, thank you. That's communication. So my job is to serve and to give. All right, let's talk about your story. Your story. Let's say you want to share a story. Let's talk very quickly about some of the vital pieces of telling a story. And the reason I bring this up is because if you watch any good television, you watch any good leadership development, you watch any great shows, you watch any good political speakers, anything like that, what do they tell? Stories. Jesus told stories. Why? Because stories have a way to communicate to human beings the way nothing else can. Stories paint a picture for the human being the way nothing else can. Stories can bring context and connection the way other things cannot. So my encouragement to you in leadership, if you're going to put information together to share with a group of people, one person one-on-one, or an audience, your team at work, whatever it may be, good stories will always undergird. They will always give a good foundation to your point that you're trying to make. So stories are vital. So how do we tell a good story? Number one, you're in a comfort zone. You're in a comfort zone. You're telling your story from a place of this is where it started. This is where the context starts. But then there's a desire. You want something. Now, let me just say, all of these slides are on PCO, Planning Center Online. I put all of these slides on the resource section of Planning Center tonight. So if you want to go back and look at the slides, you're welcome to do that, or you can take pictures of it. So number one, start off with a comfort zone. Number two, but you want something. So you get into the unfamiliar. So now there's a moment of conflict. It's unfamiliar. You go through a trial or a conflict. And this is where you and I, as human beings, make connection. Because the moment something happens in your life, in your story, I immediately, in my own mind, go, I think I know what that feels like. That's that point where you make connection with somebody. We talked about it last week. You can communicate information, but your relational connection is the key. What is the point at which me telling a story makes connection with you? At the point where you can relate to what I'm saying. At that point. So I was raised in a pastor's home. Went to church every week. At 13 years old, I walked away from the faith because I had questions. And I didn't feel like people would answer the questions that I had. I felt like people were scared of the questions that I had. And so I went through my teen years very frustrated because I felt like nobody would answer tough questions. But at 19 years old, I had a moment with God, Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2000, where I wrestled with God like Jacob in a moment. And in 24 hours, my entire life changed. And I came back to following Jesus at almost 20 years old. Oddly enough, the same exact night that my wife, she had walked away from her faith, raised in a Christian home, the same exact night, Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2000, in Beaumont, Texas, renewed her faith with God. And 8 years later, we were married. We didn't know that story. We didn't realize that until we were dating. And she told me, December 24th, 2000? I said, yeah, same night. Same exact night, God brought both of us back. It was like he went, okay, you're done. So there was this moment with God that I had wrestled with him. And I realized that all of the frustration, all of the questions, all of the hurt, all of the anger that I had as a teenager, there was this grace that just gripped my heart. And all of a sudden, I felt God's peace that I had not felt in almost a decade. And it was at that point that I knew I would follow Jesus the rest of my life. That was the moment. And since that day, I have not questioned. I still have questions, but that's different from questioning. Y'all with me? Anybody have a story like that? Anybody have that story where you've had questions? Anybody ever have something happen, suffering, pain, where you go, God, what were you? You ever experienced that? Okay. So in my story, that right there is a moment where I turn it and I put it on you and I say, is there a connection that we have? Can you think of a time that you had the same feeling? Can you think of a time that you had the same questions? Can you think of a time where you wrestled with God? Maybe, maybe not. But that's the whole point to the trial or the conflict. Then you get what you want, but it comes at a cost because your life has changed now. Y'all with me? Your life has changed. So as you tell your story, what you're saying is the cost is, and I had friends, listen, I had friends. None of my friends were religious. None of my friends went to church. None of my friends were believers. None of my friends had been Christians. None of my friends. And this is what they said. They called me, and I was leaving Orlando, Florida. I was living in Orlando, Florida. I was leaving, 19 years old, and coming out to East Texas to live in Texas again, 2001. And I remember one of my friends called me, and he was like, dude, why do you want to get religion? And I was like, well, it's not really, okay. I understand what you're asking. That's not really the thing. But I understand what you're asking. And he said, why do you want to get religion? And this is what he said. He said, you're not going to be able to do what you want to do anymore. And I said, that's where you're wrong. I said, I get to do exactly what I want. The difference is my wants have changed. So the cost, I lost friends because they weren't going the same direction. But I returned to the familiar, and that was a place of peace, having changed. That's my story. You can tell your story in 5 minutes. The question is, you start someplace, there's a conflict, there's a resolution, there may be a cost, but there's change. And when you communicate that as human beings, we can all relate to those different points. We can all relate to a trial in our life. We can all relate to it. Y'all with me? All right, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. Here's what I want to do. I want to go online. We're going to go a few minutes over tonight. I apologize. But I want to get to the last one because I want to talk about really the relational map of connection. So right now, we're going to do an engagement online with Tara. What I want us to do is I want you to take 30 seconds right now as I'm talking to you online. I want you to take 30 seconds. And I want to ask you, if I gave you 2 minutes to give a lecture on the fly, off the cuff, no preparation. If I asked you 30 seconds, you have to pick one topic, and you have to give a 2-minute lecture on that topic, what would it be? What I would like you to do is talk with Tara in the chats, and I would like you to share what's the topic and the 2 main points that you would share. If I gave you 30 seconds to think of a topic and prepare, what would you give a lecture on for 2 minutes? Those of us in the room are going to do the same thing. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds right now to think of a topic that you would lecture on, and then I want you to get your partner, and I want you to give a 1-minute lecture about that topic. And here's a hint, probably something you're convicted about, like have conviction about, something you're excited about, all right? All right, go now, all of you. And tonight I would love to hear in the chats what was the topic or the main points that they gave about what they would like to lecture on. What's the topic and main points that they would like to lecture?
Absolutely. We have Janice, and she shared living purpose-minded.
Love that.
Amber shared how to love yourself and set boundaries.
Good.
Ricky shared leadership and relationships. Carla, is it possible to have an authentic, real relationship with God?
Ooh, that's good.
Raising children with good values. Rania, how to build relationships.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
great ones.
Can we give a hand for everybody watching online, wherever you are in the world? Thank you for being a part, and I appreciate you sharing. Anybody want to share very quickly? Raise your hand and tell me, what topic would you talk about? So we do this in other settings. We did it a little bit shorter tonight, but when we have more time, say in workshops or other classes that we've done, what we do is we say 5 minutes, and you're going to give a lecture for an hour. 5-minute preparation, a lecture for an hour. So 2 things. Number 1, you got to be confident. And number 2, you got to know your stuff. If you're going to lecture for an hour. So this is a good leadership training tool. Why? Because you speak from what you know in leadership. You speak from what you know. And what I mean know is personal knowledge. Not just brain knowledge, but your personal experience. So a lot of times when we speak from our own life and from our own knowledge, we're speaking from things that we've really experienced. Because when that happens, you get it down in here. You don't need always a bunch of notes because you know what has happened in your world. So that's very important for us, all right? That conviction is good. All right, anybody would raise your hand very quickly and tell me, what would you talk about? What would you talk about? Yes. Vision boards. I like it. I like it. Vision boards. Vision boards are powerful because to keep the vision in front of us all the time as humans is vital to know what we're moving toward. I like that. Somebody else. Yes.
Believe in destiny. Believe and destiny.
Believe and listening. I like it. I like it. Believe and listening. Anybody else want to share very quickly? Yes, right over here. Yell it out. Ending the fear of? Ending the fear of not having money. Yes. Yes. Ending the fear of not having money. Yes.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance, but I was just going to share what my partner shared. He talked about playing basketball, how to shoot, how to improve your shot. So I just thought that was really interesting because everybody else is just really, really deep. And he's at 18. He's like, we'll talk about how to improve my shot in basketball. That's passionate for him.
I like it. Hey, you can lecture me any day. Any day. I mean, if I coach again, you're going to be my assistant. I can tell you right now. I love talking ball. Anybody else want to share? What would you lecture about? Something you care about? Yes. Horses and healing. Woo! My girls would come to that lecture. I got 2 girls who love horses. I like it. Horses and healing. Yes. I love that. I love it. He said the danger of comparison and running somebody else's race. Because there are rules. You run track, man, you gotta stay in your lane. You get DQ. Ooh, that's a I like where your head's at. I like it. You gotta run your race. All right, final one. Yes. Don't let fear rob you of your destiny. I like it. Don't let fear rob you of your destiny. See, here's the thing. When we communicate not from here, but from here, that many times is where we make that connection point with other people. We speak from here, from the conviction. We speak from here. Things that we've experienced, things that we walked through ourselves, things that that somebody has shared with us over the years, or something that God has walked us through, and we feel, here's the word, authority. Leadership comes from the sense of authority. Not that we are better or have control, but that we have submitted ourselves to God and we feel empowered. Y'all with me? The empowering, that energy is where people are influenced. Listen, here's the beautiful thing about speaking, and we're going to get to our last thing. I'm sorry we've gone over tonight. I apologize, but I promise you it's going to be good. The thing about influencing people with our speech, our communication, conveying our visual image and our vocal image, the key to influencing people in leadership is not that I'm able to convince you of what I believe. The key to it is me convincing you that I believe it. You are moved not when you believe what I'm saying, but you're moved when you see that I believe what I'm saying. Because people look at people and go, I want to care about stuff like that. I want to be passionate about stuff like that. It may be something totally different, maybe a completely different topic or a completely different life category. But you know the passion and the conviction, you go, I want to have conviction and passion like that. That's where leadership and influence comes from. Not that I can convince you of what I think, but I can convince you that I believe what I think. That's the belief. And you walk away going, I want to be that passionate about stuff. All right? Final thing tonight. We talked about it last week, and we've hinted at it. The information map. I'm going to share a story very quickly. When I was young, we were struggling financially, and we didn't have a lot of groceries. And there was a family that blessed us one Sunday, and they brought groceries to our house. And it was one of the youngest experiences of my life, and it was one of the youngest memories that I have about somebody blessing my life. And it was powerful. Have you ever had a moment like that where somebody blessed your life so distinctly that you'll never forget it? See, and I think this is what Jesus means in Matthew chapter 5, verse 16, when he says, I want you to be the light. I want your light to so shine that people around you see it and honor your Father in heaven. So I'm going to challenge you tonight. Why don't you be somebody's blessing this week? Why don't you extend that blessing that you've received? How about this? Why don't we be the people of blessing? Amen? Cool. I just took you through 5 steps. 5 steps. Okay? This is what we call me, we, information, you, we. This is a trick. You can take this and go watch Pastor Joel in the next few weekends, and he will do something very similar to this. This is how he connects. There is informational map, and then there's a relational map. When you share with another human being, whether in one-on-one or in a group, you have informational map, all the information that you want to convey, all the information that you want to share, all the wisdom and knowledge that you have accrued. But that, underneath that, very subtly and silently, is what we call the relational map. Now, this isn't mine. This is Pastor Andy Stanley in Atlanta, Georgia, in his book, Communicating for a Change in the early 2000s. A brilliant book, and I recommend this to every young leader and pastor that I come in contact with if they're learning to share their ideas with other people. You start here. When we communicate with other human beings, we start with a connection point. And when I am vulnerable, the me part at the very top, when I am vulnerable, I share with you an experience that I've had. That immediately opens us up to me being human. And you see that I'm vulnerable and will share something with you, even something relatively private. So that's what we call the me step. And then from there, what we do many times, and this is not the only relational map out there, I'll just throw this out there, but this is a really good one, and I've seen many people use it. Pastor Joel uses something similar to this when he connects. And I'll tell you how in just a minute. But me, I start with me. I tell something from my life. You know, there was a family that blessed us when we didn't have a lot of money. There was a family that blessed our life. And then I turn it to we. Have you ever had that same experience? And you immediately go, have I? Connection point. I turn it on you and say, is this something that you've experienced? And then right there, now, in his book, he has me, we, God, you, we. Me, we, God, you, we. That's the way we say it. But I put information because if you're not doing a message at a church or a spiritual talk, if you're doing a leadership talk and it's just information, I would say put the information third. So I start off with my story, and then I say, have any of you ever felt like that? Have you ever had that experience? Well, let's talk about what the answer may be. So then I share information. I shared Matthew 5:16. Here's what Jesus says about blessing others. And then from there, I go, this is the challenge portion, you. So I turn it back on you and I go, why don't you find one person? Pastor Joel does this all the time. Why don't you be somebody's blessing? Why don't you pay off somebody's debt? People are praying for a blessing every day. Why don't you be that blessing? And then he'll always end a sermon like this. Why don't we be the people who ... Here's what I love about Pastor Joel, and I only use him as an example because he is an elite communicator. He really is. My favorite thing about him is he has a yes face. I tell people all the time, he has a yes face. You never feel condescended when he's speaking to you as though he's speaking down. He always has a we face. This is all of us. And he shares from his life the challenges of faith that he has gone through, the struggles. And you do the same. You do this every day when you talk to people about your relationship with the Lord, when you talk about work, when you talk about leadership, and you talk about life. You share things all the time. So my encouragement to you would be this. Be vulnerable, appropriately vulnerable. And if you have an opportunity, make a connection with people. Have you ever felt like that? It makes people think, yes, I have. And it immediately opens the heart to go, we have a connection. There's something subconscious in the human mind that ties us together. And then you share good information, whether it be spiritual or leadership or life, wisdom, guidance, maybe knowledge that you have on the job that's really good. This is your opportunity to get in what you know. And then you challenge, and then you bring it back to we. We are all in this together. Nobody has all the answers, so we've got to all work together. Follow Jesus and be a blessing to others. All right? So this is our relational map. So when you write out when you want to say something, you want to communicate to somebody, you want to communicate to a group or a leader, you're a leader at work, whatever you're doing, you write out your information, and then you put a relational map in place. Because when you follow that relational map, you're immediately able to connect with other human beings here, heart to heart, instead of just regurgitating information. Okay? So when I stand up and I just read stuff, I mean, listen, y'all can go buy this book and just read all of it. You can buy that. But what we're trying to do on Thursday nights is we're trying to make connection with each other in the room. So one of the beautiful things is we take the information. The information and curriculum is just an excuse to get us all together and create community. So that's the point to the relational map. All of life is relational first and informational second. And that's why people don't care what you know until they know that you care. That's the relational. Let's pray. Father, we love you. We thank you tonight for the opportunity to come before you as a community at Lakewood Church in leadership and to learn. So, Father, none of us have all the answers. I don't, we don't, but Father, you do. And we're asking you to help us, show us, give us clarity. How do we communicate with one another? How do we use our visual image, our vocal image? How do we use relational ways to communicate with one another that we make connection? Father, teach us how to be vulnerable with people in a way that will show them that we're just like them or they're just like us. That we're all at the same place. We're all on a journey to understand what it means to be your creation. And we're grateful for you. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for the opportunity to come together and grow in leadership. Help us to speak on the things that we love and that we're passionate about. Help our leadership, help our communication to be clear. In Jesus' name. And everybody said? Amen. Final thing I'll say tonight. This is one thing that I forgot to say it. Pastor Joel does this. This is brilliant. This is a brilliant move. If you ever want to talk on leadership, Pastor Joel will do this. He will talk about doubt or fear. Okay? He'll give a sermon on fear. And what he will do is he will verbally put you and me on one side of a line, and he will make fear the enemy. If you listen to him, he will make doubt the enemy. He will make lack the enemy. He will make sickness the enemy. He's brilliant at it. So what he'll do is the whole time he's basically getting people on one side of the line, and then we're all against whatever that demonic thing is. It's genius. And he does it in such a way that you miss it. It's very easy to miss it. But listen to him this weekend or the next time that he preaches, and just listen for him going, hey, why don't we be on this side, and let's all be together against that thing. Let's all be together against fear, against doubt, against insecurity. Let's all be here, and let's be over there. So he never puts you against him. He puts us against that thing. Just listen for it next time. All right, we love you guys. Thank you so much. It is 8:20. I apologize we went over late. But if you all have any questions, feel free to email us, Leadership Program at Lakewood, if you have any more questions about tonight's talk. And we'll see you next week. Dr. Dokes is going to be here next week to talk about chapters 5, 6, 7. Thank you.